The North Pole from a scientific perspective, how this region influences Earth's climate. Fascinating facts. When people hear the words North Pole, a very specific image usually comes to mind. Endless ice, unbearable cold, complete isolation, and a place that feels disconnected from the rest of the world. For many, it exists almost like a myth, distant, silent, frozen in time. But science tells a very different story. The North Pole is not just a remote location at the top of the planet. It is one of Earth's most powerful climate engines, quietly shaping the world we live in. The first surprising fact is that the North Pole is not land. There is no solid ground beneath it. Instead, it sits atop floating sea ice in the Arctic Ocean. This ice is constantly moving, pushed by winds and ocean currents. In reality, the exact position of the North Pole shifts slightly every single day. This alone challenges our traditional understanding of geography and reminds us that the Arctic is not static, it is alive and constantly changing. From a scientific perspective, the North Pole plays a crucial role in regulating Earth's temperature. The vast ice-covered surface reflects sunlight back into space through what scientists call the albedo effect. Ice is bright, and bright surfaces reflect heat. This reflection helps keep the planet cool. When ice melts, it exposes darker ocean water beneath it, which absorbs far more heat. This absorbed heat warms the water, melts more ice, and accelerates warming even further. It's a feedback loop, and once it gains momentum, it becomes extremely difficult to stop. This is one of the reasons scientists are so deeply concerned about the rapid warming of the Arctic. Over recent decades, the North Pole and surrounding Arctic regions have warmed at a rate far exceeding the global average. This phenomenon, known as Arctic amplification, means that the Arctic is heating up 2, 3, and sometimes even 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. And this matters more than most people realize. The North Pole has a powerful influence on Earth's atmospheric systems. One of the most important of these is the polar jet stream, a high-altitude river of fast-moving air that circles the northern hemisphere. The jet stream helps separate cold Arctic air from warmer air farther south. When the temperature difference between these regions weakens, the jet stream becomes unstable. Instead of flowing smoothly, it begins to wobble. These wobbles can trap weather systems in place, leading to prolonged heat waves, extreme cold spells, intense storms, flooding, and droughts in regions thousands of miles away from the Arctic. In other words, unusual weather events across North America, Europe, and Asia are often connected to changes happening at the North Pole. The Arctic also plays a vital role beneath the surface, in the oceans. Cold, salty Arctic waters sink and help drive thermohaline circulation, a global system of ocean currents that distribute heat across the planet. This circulation is sometimes described as Earth's climate conveyor belt. If it slows down or changes direction, entire climate patterns could shift, affecting agriculture, sea levels, and ecosystems worldwide. Beyond physics and climate systems, the North Pole is also a treasure trove of scientific information. Ice cores drilled from Arctic ice contain frozen records of Earth's atmosphere stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. Each layer of ice traps tiny bubbles of air from the past, preserving the chemical composition of ancient atmospheres. By studying these bubbles, scientists can see how carbon dioxide levels, temperatures, and climate conditions have changed over time. These frozen archives allow researchers to compare past natural climate changes with what's happening today. And the conclusion is clear. The current rate of warming is unprecedented in human history. Despite its harsh conditions, life thrives in and around the North Pole in remarkable ways. Microorganisms survive within the ice itself. Fish and plankton flourish beneath the frozen surface. Polar bears, seals, and walruses rely on sea ice not only for hunting, but for resting, breeding, and survival. The ice is not just surface, it is the foundation of an entire ecosystem. Human life has also adapted to this extreme environment. Indigenous Arctic communities have lived in harmony with the region for thousands of years, developing deep knowledge of the ice, weather, and wildlife. Today, these communities are among the first to experience the direct impacts of Arctic warming, as thinning ice and unpredictable seasons disrupt traditional ways of life. From a broader scientific perspective, the North Pole also helps us understand the limits of life itself. Organisms that survive in extreme cold, darkness, and pressure provide valuable insights into how life might exist on other worlds. Studying the Arctic helps scientists imagine the possibility of life beneath the icy surfaces of moons like Europa or Enceladus. Yet, despite its enormous importance, the North Pole often remains out of sight and out of mind. It does not dominate daily news cycles, and its changes happen quietly, far from major population centers. But silence does not mean insignificance. In fact, the Arctic is one of the clearest indicators of how rapidly our planet is changing. Every ton of ice that melts in the North Pole contributes to rising sea levels, shifting weather patterns, and altered ecosystems across the globe. Every degree of warming there amplifies changes elsewhere. The Arctic is not a distant victim of climate change, it is one of its driving forces. Science leaves little room for doubt. The future of the North Pole is deeply connected to the future of Earth itself. Understanding this region is not optional if we want to understand our planet. The Arctic is not just a frozen frontier, it is a mirror reflecting the consequences of human actions. And that brings us to the final question. Do you believe humanity is truly listening to the warnings coming from the North Pole, or will we only act once its ice and the balance it protects is gone forever? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.